Hi, favored ones. Welcome to Soul Talk. So it's season 4. And for this month, I have 4 young people who will be guesting. And for today, we have Vince Maliuanag.
Hello.
He's not my student. He's not my student.
Not
But then
exactly.
um, he's the president of Investor Society at DLSU. And it's an org where they invited me to be the faculty advisor. So that's the kind of relationship. And for today here in Soul Talk, actually, it's also kind of my first time to really get to know Vince at a deeper level. So let's all welcome him. Hi, Vince. How are you?
Hi Miss. I'm okay, I guess. It's been a long term and I'm glad that it's finally term break, I guess.
May
But
term break ba? Yun ang tanong
yun
eh.
nga, I was
Kasi
gonna say,
di ba
but
pag
even though,
Lasal,
yeah, even if it's term break, yun nga pa, as you said, being president in org, I don't really have free time. I'm still planning things for the org even during break. So, but it's fulfilling, so I'm not complaining.
so the org is keeping you busy? Or are there
Yes.
other things on your plate as well?
I mean, for the most part right now, yeah, it's the org. Yeah, it's the org. That's my biggest like I guess actual keeping me busy hobby right now. Others are like, everything else that other people have, which spending time with family or maybe some recreational activities here and there. But yes, for the most part, it's the org right now.
Parang nakakatuwa kasi your course is applied economics. Tapos parang hindi mo man lang siya mention.
Oh,
How's your program? Is it that
my
easy?
program. No, it's not. It's a really hard program. It's a hard program. It's a lot of math. I just didn't mention because being term break, I have not thought about academics. I've not thought about academics during term break. Though enlistment starts tomorrow actually. So that's when I'll start thinking about it again. But for now, if I have an option to turn off my mind from academics, I'll do it and I'll focus on other things. That's why I never bothered, I guess, to bring it up.
Could you talk more about Investor
Mhm.
Society? Kasi parang
Yeah.
based from my conversations with you before, it seems like a new org.
Yes, but okay. So I guess yeah. Investor Society only started nung 2018. Just 2018, and then the year after, that's when I joined 2019 because that's when I was a freshman in DLSU. And then during that time, I actually didn't plan on joining Investor Society at that time because they were newly accredited. So they weren't in the handbook, they weren't in any online platforms. You couldn't find them unless you actually went to Lasal and saw their booth. Luckily, their booth was placed strategically, so I suddenly saw them. Because at that time, I was planning on joining Mafia because that was the only like finance org at that time. I was dead set on joining Mafia, but as I was walking in DLSU, I saw, oh, what's this Investor Society? They were like right smack in the middle of SJ Walk at that time. For people out there, that's just a hall along DLSU.
Yes.
Yeah. And then I saw the booth, and then I saw there was one of the former VPs there, and I talked to them like, "What's this org about?" They said it's about teaching financial literacy and investment to Lasalians and etc. And I knew that's what I wanted to join. That's always what I wanted to have in college in terms of organization, because at that time, yeah, Mafia wasn't really on Finlit. They were more on being a home org for the finance students. So there, I joined Investor Society, and I knew from the get go that, at least personally, since it's a personal advocacy of mine, that I wanted to contribute to its growth and development. And I wanted to stay. I wanted to do what I can for the org. So I was a Biba kid from day one. Even as Frosh, I was recruiting the other people to join and everything. And then yeah, then I guess 2 years later, I eventually became president after roller coaster of a ride organization, I guess.
2 years and then president na.
Yes, po.
Normal naman yun, di ba? In any student organization? Or
Um,
was it a hard, was it, kasi meron iba talagang may elections, there's
yeah, yes, po.
competition, but
Yes,
in
po.
IS, was it also the same?
I guess I'll give some more context about the situation of IS back then. But to answer muna for other orgs, generally bigger orgs, the proven orgs like Mafia, Gemma, the big orgs, they normally have their presidents in their fourth year. So normally it takes 3 years for them. Smaller orgs, it's normal to see naman 2 years or newer orgs. But in general, um, I think all presidents except two in CSO for this year is either ID 118 or 119. So for people out there, that's either 2 years or 3 years to become president. So it's average lang naman po. And then so given the context of the org, how did I end up becoming president? Um, Actually, to be honest, IS kind of struggled early on. The first year was relatively successful for a new org that didn't really know where to start yet. They did fine. But the time it got to second year, it was difficult for the org to manage properly because they weren't able to keep a lot of the members that helped contribute a lot in the previous year because they graduated. So by that second year, they kind of struggled to put together an EB, and then just compound that with the pandemic happening. A lot of things kind of got magulo in the organization at that time.
Yeah.
Um, and then honestly, every time we talk about that year with other members, we're like, what about that year made us stay? Like objectively makes no sense for other people. But then again, like I said, it's a personal advocacy for me, so I stayed the next year. Next year, since they had difficulty in that second year, they also had difficulty fielding their executive board. They had a difficulty finding the president and everyone for
Oo.
last year.
Yeah, siyempre
Yeah.
problem sa succession yun eh.
Yeah. And then in that third year, I applied for an officership, and I did everything I could. I was part of the internals committee, so that dealt with development of junior officers and members at that time. So that's where I contributed. Luckily, my vice president there was really good. Her name is Bianca, I guess. She was really good. Luckily, I guess I learned a lot of like being responsible in org work from her. Though one thing to note was a lot of the EB members last year were people that were just kind of pulled together from random places. They weren't even members of IS at that time.
Oh,
Because it struggled to
oo.
field members at that time. So it was still medyo not set in the direction I think it could be in. It fixed a lot of problems that had from the previous year naman. A lot of organizational things. Like I think last year it actually resembled a proper organization. So that was a positive from year three. And then but later on in the year, it the what's this again? There's also later on in the year, mismanagement started playing a factor. So, a lot of events were starting to being planned late and stuff like that. So it started to struggle. But also at that time, that's when elections was gonna happen. It's also elections for IS, which is normally determined by the executive board. And then when elections came around, I was thinking if I should stay or not, mostly because um there are other orgs that kind of wanted to join like ISEC or whatnot. Um because they're more proven at that time. I was like, do I stay in this org, try to make it something, or do I go to another org that's proven and you know do something there instead? But ultimately, I guess I just wanted to stay apparently after everything. So mostly because I think at that time, um, no one was no one really wanted to run for president at that time. And I knew that there's a part of me that wanted to do it, and I asked myself if I'd regret not doing it. I guess so. I guess I just went for it, and eventually, I got in, but also without struggle because running for president, I also had to convince a lot of people to run for vice president positions as well because I wasn't close to anyone in the org last year. There was no sense, I guess, of like a proper friendship with a lot of people, and I had to just message people that I knew could work properly naman. So yeah, luckily the people I asked said yes, and now we're this year. We're in. I'm very happy with my executive board and what we've done so far, and where the org is right now, and how much everything has changed really within the organization. So yeah.
Ang galing nun, kasi, well, looking at it from, a observer point of view,
Mhm.
well, it seems like there's no reason to stay kasi parang umalis na yung mga those who founded the org, and there was really no one to succeed.
Yeah.
But here you are, and then you also had to convince friends na hindi mo close at all, or
Yeah.
eventually naging close lang because you invited them somehow.
Yes, po. Like, I think prior to that, I probably had maybe like one or two conversations with most of them.
What made you decide to run for that position, and then at the same time invite friends or acquaintances who could be your VP as well?
Mhm.
What was going on behind, behind your mind actually?
Yeah, yeah.
What's the, kasi that's very brave. That's very brave. Not everyone would really want to step up in such a situation. But you did. So what was going on behind?
Maybe I'm not sure. Maybe I'm I'm crazy for wanting to stay. No, no, no. What's this? What is going on in my mind? Well, for one, like I've said, I love what the org is about. Its advocacies and such that. And beyond that, I still saw potential in the org because even though sure we had difficulty maintaining officers or we had difficulty planning projects, one thing I knew was that a lot of people do want to learn more about investing. You can see freedom what a lot of people ask for investing tips. You see with our membership, from the first year they were like around 150. The second year they were 200. Last year we were 330. This year we're 550. So I know there's an increasing amount of people that want to learn about it. There's just we just need to put the org out there and say, guys, if you want to learn more, we're here. You can join this organization. You can join our programs or seminars. You can learn more, you know. So there's that part. And I guess secondly, it was also yeah, I didn't want any of that effort that people have started before to kind of go to waste because yeah, I saw the potential and I just figured that if I focus for a bit or whatnot, I think this org can really be something special wherein it's not only teaching financial literacy to the science, but hopefully even beyond the walls of DLSU. Um, and
You
then
start. Kasi for the org, well, to be a member of the org,
yes,
where the org's advocacy is financial literacy, then that means you have to really learn.
yes, po.
How did you start to study finance?
Okay. When I was in 10th grade in my old school Waldorf, we have this thing called work week wherein we have to get internships. In 10th grade, it's corporate internships. In 11th grade, it to be social work internships naman. So in 10th grade, I was kind of interested in finance. I think at that because I love watching movies, and I think at that time I just finished watching The Big Short, and I found that really interesting and seeing how that entire financial crisis worked, I guess. So I wanted to get into like fund management. I kind of wanted to see how that role is like. So I looked for an internship at the maybe at the trading firm or brokerage or wherever. Luckily, through a friend, I was able to get an internship at CTS Global Securities when yeah in 10th grade. So that's the fund arm of Call Financial. So I got to learn from yeah, sina I think yeah, my the person taught me most I think was Lawrence Lee. at that time. So I learned a lot from him, and since then I knew I wanted to get into more into finance. And at first I whoa, sorry, I don't know what happened to my video over there. At first I thought that it would be boring for a lot of people. Like, oh, no one's
Yeah.
interested in this. Maybe it's just me and whatnot. Um, but and even if it is, one thing Lawrence told me was that um, what's this? Even if you're not gonna be like an active trader or anything, it's still important to invest because you have to make sure that your money is working for you, right? No, rich dad poor dad sayings. That yeah, your money just isn't in the bank account because it's not really efficient, especially if you're young, right? If you invest it, at least you'll see some, you'll beat inflation, your money will be doing something, hopefully you'll make earnings, etc., etc. It's important to be financially free, financially independent, right? Financially secure in general. And so I was like, okay, that's great. I mean, not to undermine
Uh-uh.
it, but it's great. I loved it. I loved it. I was like, okay, that's amazing. And I was thinking, yeah, maybe I'm the only one into this though. But I liked it anyway. So I shared my classmates on what I did and everything. And then I found out a lot of people are interested in something like this. A lot of people want to learn more about stocks, finance, bonds, or whatnot, because it's an area that they haven't really explored being people who
Yeah.
are young, because I think a lot of stigma when you're younger is that banking, finance is for when you're old, right? Doing stocks is when you're old, taxes, everything. It's when you're an
Yeah.
adult now. It's not for when
Mm-mm.
you're 16. But there, I found out a lot of my friends did want to learn more about it and whatnot. So I started kind of talking to a lot of them about just stocks in general. Kind of stupid if you ask me because I barely knew anything, I guess, objectively. But then
Okay.
it was mostly about, I didn't like teach them how to do it. I was more of telling them like,
So
what to
kwentuhan.
kwentuhan lang naman po, but still. Yun. Then yeah, I started teaching about that, and then I think that's when I kind of realized that, oh, not that actually, that's not when, but there's a lot of other facts that I learned. Like I also learned that in the Philippines it's only 1% of the population investing. um Only like 30% of the population has a bank account, stuff like that. Basic things that could help so much people in this country become more financially independent. Though I am speaking from a privileged standpoint that it's not easy for people working on less than minimum wage to suddenly save up and open trading account and then invest. But that's not what I'm telling everyone to do. I'm basically letting everyone know that there are these opportunities that you can do with your money, so that when certain situations come, you're not just suddenly no money or whatnot. So it's really about teaching financial literacy to a lot of Filipinos out there, because yeah, being a third world country, I think that is very important. Two things I find very important in this country, which is education and financial literacy. So going to college, I went for a degree that would help me become a fund manager, because I think still, even if I want to achieve financial literacy within the country, I wanted to also have earnings for my own. So, fund manager is kind of the idea I had going to college. And then, yeah, Investor Society came into play about teaching financial literacy. So I was like, okay, that's perfect. It's the community that
Okay.
I'd
So
want to.
nag-align.
And
Nag-align
yeah,
lahat.
everything aligned. Yes.
Oo. Pero ano, kasi your first exposure was during 10th grade, 'di ba? What
Yes,
made
po.
you decide that, okay, I want to, go? And it's because of the movie The Big Short.
The Big
Pero not
Short.
every, pero not everyone could understand that.
Not exactly. I think that's one thing I've always loved doing. If I don't understand something, I want to keep learning about it until I do.
Hmm.
So, I've kind of always had that curiosity. That's why I've always loved working with computers, seeing how to build them, how to make them work, and stuff like that. I've always loved learning instruments, seeing how they work, how to understand it, how to play it. And then same thing goes for, I guess, the economy at one point. When I watched the big shot, I'm like, wow, that was cool, but I don't know why it was cool. So I have to understand why it's cool. So I kept researching more and more about it. And I probably rewatched that movie this annually, like probably like once a year at least. And every time I watch it, I always realize that I understand it even more than I did before. And it's always a good feeling because I'm like, I know I'm learning at least, I know that there are things
Yes,
that,
you're growing.
yeah, I'm growing. Yeah.
Growing in consciousness. That's why you're
Yeah.
able to understand it at a deeper level or
Yeah.
a wider, ano, di lang kasi deep di ba? Parang patay yung horizontally you also grow. So that's it. It's the inquisitive mind. So after the internship at what do you call this? Under Lawrence,
Yeah.
how did you sustain? Siyempre wala ka na sa internship
Yeah.
di ba? How
Yeah.
do you
Yeah.
sustain that? Do you have any other mentors or
Yeah.
maybe
Okay.
family members who
Yeah.
could help you?
Yeah. Okay. I think one sadly, I have no family members into finance. I'm the finance person in the family, no one else. Though one thing that did help me through that is that right after that internship, I opened my brokerage account right away. I told my dad I wanted to open this. So he gave me a stead and everything, and I opened an account under his name. So I started trading in my own. And then some losses, some wins. So I think it was pretty bad the first year. I think yeah, I was down pretty bad the first year, as a lot of traders are. Um and for a second I was like, man, should I just continue? But um I think one thing that really let me continue is that I have one friend that's also really interested in investing. And luckily, his dad is also a person that loves investing as well. And this friend, it's not just any friend, like this person is like almost like a brother to me. So I just go to their house, I'd make cuento with Tito and everything. We just talk about finance, investing, business movements within the country. So I guess those like visits to them every now and then would kind of give me courage. And then every now and then we'd go, oh, what are you guys investing in and all that. So we'd look at things that we're interested in, and then if we like something, we'd invest in something. And there are a few times na, those conversations did lead me to um pretty good gains at some point in time and everything. And it kept me going. And outside of that, outside of I know, like I guess conversations with them, um within my family, I like I've said po kanina, Brett, a lot of people started asking me more about finance. So I guess helping people throughout the way with simple things, even like opening a broker's account or what is a stock, those kind of conversations. It helps a lot, I guess, keep me interested because I love being able to share something with other people, right? And I know that they've gained something from it. So, yun, I guess.
Interesting. Pero kasi 'di ba right now, well, alert level 1, but then
Yeah.
we're still online.
It's still
So during the past year, what's the biggest change that you notice in yourself?
in myself. With regards to and then just with regards to
Everything.
everything. Okay. I'm gonna assume you mean like from the start of pandemic naman po, right?
Oo, kahit ano.
Right now. So okay, I'm gonna go from pandemic because I feel like that's when a lot of my life changed. Because
Alright.
um it's this. I think yeah, okay. So weird to bring up. I don't know if it's it sounds stupid in my head, but it's not stupid, but then it's just funny in my head. It's one of those things that I joke about with other people. Kasi. But anyway, so I had a breakup in the pandemic. um,
May growth yun.
exactly. I was in a long-term relationship prior to the until
Ilang
like
taon
the
ka
first
na, long
pandemic.
term yun.
It was 6 years long po.
Oh my gosh! Ano 'to, puppy love?
Yeah.
Grabe, 6 years,
Yeah.
amazing.
It was 6 years. So there, relationship, then we broke up nung pandemic. And then what's this? And it was an amicable breakup, I'd say naman. Wherein it wasn't really about us suddenly hating each other or like someone backstabber. It wasn't like that. It was boiling down to it. It was just accepting the fact that we weren't the ones that were kind of meant to be, I guess. And accepting that, there was really nowhere else for us to grow in our relationship. So it was time to separate. And after that, I did. It's not that, it wasn't that my ex was holding me back or anything like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
nothing bad in her at all. But then after that, um I guess with the time you have being single and the time, and I guess more opportunities to be selfish, I was able to find myself in places that I didn't think I'd be able to do, or like to ano, or being in social situations that I wouldn't have been in otherwise. And that changed a lot within myself. I guess in the since then I've been more confident in myself, in my abilities, my capabilities. I've also been more, I guess, yeah, I'd say confidence is number one. And yeah, time for myself. And now I have time to just focus on something completely, and just have to think about myself for once. And then it changed a lot. I don't know exactly like what, like I can't say now, oh, I'm more confident, oh, I think I got better in time management, oh, I got, it's not something like that. I think innately, who I am just grown. I think that's the best way to put it. It's so vague, it's very vague, but I think growth was the best way to put it. Like if you'd ask my friends, they'd say something similar. Na it's not that I've changed fundamentally or anything like that. It's more of I've grown. We've all changed for the better to grow. I think closer to what your maximum potential is. And yeah, it's not something that I can say, oh, it's just because I became more confident or I became smarter or anything like that. It's just, yeah, maturing
Was a
maybe.
shift. There was a shift
A
that
shift.
happened.
Yeah, yeah.
And there was a shift. But definitely a breakup is, well, an amicable breakup. That's also part of growing up. And it's good that okay pa kayo, 'di ba? Parang
Yeah.
it's better to realize early on that you're no longer growing in the relationship. So it's time to focus on your individual self muna
Mhm.
and grow. So that's that's something I wasn't expecting to hear right now, but then but beautiful, really beautiful. So eventually you realize that you matured and you grew up during the pandemic.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a wild pandemic, I'd say. I feel like so much has happened, and I think to an extent the online setup might have helped me also, because I think face to face I was a bit more introverted. Like I think social battery, if you're socializing face to face with people you don't know yet, can be quite draining. I think one thing with online is when I met people, I could go on conversations with them longer, and I got close to them. And now that I'm close to them, I'm okay seeing them face to face for long amounts of time and everything like that. But yeah, I think,
It's really the quality conversations that you've
yeah,
had despite
yeah.
it being online that sustained you.
Mhm.
Okay, that's something good. I'm sure. Okay yan. No, because a lot of I hear a lot of people my age. I'm already in my 40. Um they have a hard time online. Parang nawawala daw yung
Yeah.
connection. But
Mhm.
then here you are saying that despite it being online, you can actually form relationships. You could build
Yeah.
relationships. And that's very refreshing. Something that the older ones also have to hear. Because it's
Mhm.
just the limiting belief saying, it's just the mindset saying that hindi pwede, hindi kaya. Pero
Yeah.
kaya naman talaga
It's
if they
it's
just
possible. Yeah.
if they just open their minds more.
Mhm.
Okay, that's a good experience then to of course, not everyone is having a positive experience during the pandemic, but for you to be able to highlight the good things, that is amazing. That is amazing. What are the important lessons you think that you have learned during this time? The challenges that you
Yeah.
overcame.
Yeah. I think similarly nga po to what I said kanina, being selfish. I think one thing that maybe people underestimate is how important it is to be selfish at times, to think about yourself and maybe what you want to do, what you want to achieve. I feel like being selfish isn't necessarily automatically disregarding other people, but I think it is one of the best ways to grow. Like, be selfish, take care of yourself. Go for that thing that you want, you know. So what what if others think that it's wrong? If you yourself believe that you are, doing what's good and everything, um, then just go for it. Though obviously, that does need you to have a good moral compass or everything like that. But then in general, for most of the people you'd meet, I believe that, most people are good people. And it's okay to be selfish because I don't know, it's opened a lot of doors for me one way or another. Like, it's okay to be more assertive, more set in yourself one way or another. That is a big thing I learned in this online setting. But also the flip side of that, another thing I learned is um how important it is to, I guess, have people that you can really rely on. Like, in the online setting, um it is hard to, even though I was able to do it, it is hard to find connections, and it is tiring to be online all the time, not seeing people. I'm in my 20s. I want to be able to go out and see friends, do some more things in life that I can still do without being tired. So it's important to have a support system around you that you can rely on and talk to, because as even I'm telling people to be selfish, what's this it's still important to have support. It's still important to be um loved. I don't know what to put it. I don't
Oo.
know.
Pero totoo naman, I
Yeah.
can relate to what you're saying, that it's important to focus on yourself, to be selfish, not in the negative way na selfish,
Yeah.
but in a positive way so that you could focus really on yourself. But at the same time, have those trusted people who could form your support system.
Yeah.
Kasi important, no man is an island.
Yeah.
That's definitely something that we have learned during the pandemic.
Mhm.
Although, of course, we also learned to be alone.
Mhm. Yeah.
What makes you energized or passionate in the
Ooh.
things that you do? Kasi of course, there's
Ooh.
the finance guy, di ba? Yung sa
Yeah.
investing. And then, meron ka rin mga ibang hilig eh, hindi lang naman finance, di
Yeah.
ba?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what makes you passionate about your daily activities or the task that you do? Kasi task can be very mundane. It can be
Yeah.
very boring.
Yeah.
But you need some, energy behind it to make it more interesting.
I think there are times that I do. Whoa. Like, there are times you kind of get existential, right? And then you think about, man, what am I doing with my life? Or what happens if you die, etc., etc. And I think one thing I've kind of learned to kind of appreciate, no matter what, when I get too when I overthink too much, right? And I kind of lose that goal or like that passion or what you said na what drives me is that being here, being alive, experiencing all the mundane things is really fun. And it's easy to say it now because I feel like I'm in a good mood right now. But um yeah, because I don't think you'll catch me saying stuff like this when I'm like, oh man, I'm drained, org work is too heavy, ACADS are heavy, what am I doing with my life? You won't catch me. But then that's part of life, right? Having downsides is, it can't be all good, because if it's all good, there's no such thing as good. That's just normal. So I've learned to kind of appreciate just normal conversations with friends, something like that. It means something. It means something to just be like, I want to be a special person. I want to achieve great things. I want to, but and there's something I tell myself, but I also struggle with actually convincing myself, right? Wherein it's okay to be I want to be special, I want to achieve great things, I want to be rich, normal things. But I also tell myself it's okay not to be. And that's something I struggle with to really convince myself, because it's okay to not be uber successful. Chances are I won't be, realistically, right? um but what's important is, when I think a lot of people in my generation, a lot of my friends have that same mindset, wherein what's really most important is happiness, one way or another. What makes you happy at the end of the day? Is it really having a lot of money so you can buy something? Is it being successful or popular? Is that it? Or is it knowing that being alive is such an amazing thing to even grasp in the first place? Traveling with friends is something that always makes me so happy. Like, traveling is super fun, like road trips or other things with friends, experiences. It's things like that that make me go for it. I think every time people ask me, "Oh, how rich do you want to be? What do you want your income to be, etc." Obviously, as much as possible, because I'm not gonna be telling people that money is bad or anything like that. It's only bad if you let it corrupt you, naman. So yeah, I want money to be able to travel and see friends. I honestly am okay with not being rich, but I want to be able to do is just experience things that I want to experience. I'm okay not eating like a gold steak or anything, but if I can have a sandwich with a friend in another country, that's like amazing or something.
All right. Actually, it's good to be rich. It's
It
really
is.
good
It's
to be
good to be
rich.
rich.
And
Yeah.
I from what you said earlier, I think you've put a limitation to what rich is. The
Mm.
definition of rich for you is not yet as wide as it is supposed to be. So, parang yung rich for you, it's still parang nakakahon pa. So your
Mm.
definition of rich is still something that also has to evolve as you gain more experience. Kasi when we say rich naman, hindi naman siya finance lang eh. It's a lot of things. Rich in love, rich in relationships, rich in everything. And who wouldn't want to be rich?
Mm.
Who
Yeah.
wouldn't want, diba?
Yeah.
So there's still a limitation to your definition of rich. But it's okay. Parang kasi parang na feel ko na parang, oh, I want to be rich. But then but it's okay not to. So parang you're hindering yourself.
Yeah.
But there's this drive, there's this ambition to want to achieve great things. And that's a good thing. It's something to be celebrated. I support you in that. So, don't limit yourself to the culture of syempre iba rin yung culture dito, di ba?
Yeah.
So don't limit yourself to your potential. There's so many things that you could do. But speaking of that, where do you see yourself? Like, kahit short term lang in the future. Let's say really LaSalle opens
Like,
up
yeah.
or after graduation, since malapit
Mhm.
na parang 2 more years, right?
Yes, but
So
lapit na
where
yun.
do you see yourself? What are your aspirations? Even at this young age. For me, you're still so young. So
Mm.
what's the aspirations
Yeah.
during
Yeah.
this time?
Short term wise, I guess, well, not like 100% sure like what I'm like dead set on, because Um, I'm also I'm relatively go with the flow. Like there are things I want to achieve, and I know steps, and I've like also thought about steps I need to take to achieve that certain thing. But I'm also open to not having those steps happen. Wherein, yeah, there's only so much that I can control, right? A lot of things are also external. So I'm not sure. But I guess okay, let's ideally, right? One is, well, hopefully I graduate on time for one, with hopefully with some with Latin honors, and maybe a award, or I don't know. um but after that, like after grad, like the soonest, I've always looked at either, actually mostly government work, or something corporate, as anyone would, and starting as a maybe a researcher in a fund of some sort, or yeah, government, wherein I go to either DOF or NEDA as researcher again. Those are things I'd be interested in, especially NEDA, since I feel like that's a great way to be able to kind of help other people, at least at the start, right? Making economic plans seems very interesting to me, though very difficult. So I'm like, do we really want to do that? I guess. And other things I want to achieve.
Yeah.
Um, Personally within me, I'm not too sure about like any specific thing. Like, to be honest, like that's not like not jobs. Like, what do I want to achieve within myself? I don't know. I guess, okay, one other thing is like um knowing that after my term, Investor Society is a sustainable um and a sustainable organization we're in. I know it won't die anymore, because that's been a problem the past 3 years, when you're like, will it survive the next year? Will it survive the next year? Will it survive the next year? I don't want it to be a question anymore for Investor Society, after I'm done with the organization, I guess. Smaller things like that, wherein, yeah, that's, yeah, yun po. I don't know.
Oo. Kaya okay lang yan kasi siyempre 'di ba, parang career muna yung iniisip, eh,
Yeah,
finance and career. And of
yeah,
course, your hopes for Investor Society kasi technically parang baby mo yan, eh.
yeah, exactly.
Alright. Sige, last.
Mm.
What message could you share so that others could also, not be afraid to reach for their goals? Or at least man lang to achieve something significant.
Yeah. Um, to achieve, for people who want to reach their goals, there's a lot on my mind. Like, I don't know if there's like one thing that I'd say. So I'll just try to riff off of my head. Like I said earlier, I think it's important to, if you want to achieve something, know that it's not just, for example, um, I want to be able to buy a house when I'm 30. You won't just suddenly become 30 and be able to buy a house. So you have to take smaller steps. What do you need to do to make that something happen? I think that's definitely something. Like, for me, I knew that I wouldn't just go to the organization and go, I want to be president, right? There's steps, just like in anything, like in school, you go from grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, all the way
The
up.
process.
It's a process. And it may be tedious, but then a cliche saying, right? The process is a lot of the learnings and a lot of the journey. The journey isn't the end, it's the process. But that's what everyone says. And it's so cliche because it's so true. You can't learn in one day. You can't, you know, it's something that takes time. And so I think that's one, like, physical thinking. If you're talking about mindset, on the other hand, I think it's um this isn't an this isn't what I'm about to say isn't like something that's applicable to all situations, obviously. But then I have this supposed story. Um my I know someone, well, not know. There's this someone from Ateneo long ago, um, who died in a car accident.
Okay.
She was top of her class and everything. And in her course, the top of her class automatically gets this like prestigious internship somewhere. And she was supposed to get it. Now that she died, um, the number two in that class is not supposed to get it, right? But then that's number two person at first was doubting, like, I don't want to get this, because you don't want to get this thing that, it's someone else, your friend that is top of the class and everything, because they're friends also. You don't want to get that opportunity from them. But one thing is that if you don't take it, right? If you don't take it, even though you are the most deserving person, someone else will. So then you go, oh, how do you know if you're the most deserving if it's not ranking like that? You just try. You'll never be put in situations wherein you don't deserve to be in that situation. That's a firm belief of mine. If someone asks you if you should go for an officership or for a certain position, if they ask you to become vice president, that means they believe that you could. There are some that obviously maybe you're not the first choice, but regardless of that, they asked you, and they wouldn't ask you if they don't think you could do it to an extent, right? And if that's the case, what's the harm in trying? Lost time maybe, or whatnot, but also what is time anymore? Because as you do life, that's part of it. Time failing is time learning, I guess. So if you don't get that thing you applied for or whatnot, it's fine. It's okay. You also never know how much time you have left in your life. That's why um, it is important to save and invest in everything. But also remember, it's okay to spend. It's okay to be selfish sometimes. Sometimes, obviously, in regulation, right? Because you don't want to be so scared of anything in this world, whether it be opportunities or losing money or anything, to a point wherein you're the one being held hostage by things you're scared of. Wherein what it's supposed to be is that you're supposed to gain courage and conquer these things that you're scared of and use that basically as like your driving force, your strength, things that will guide you. Right? You're scared of losing money. Part of being able to have a steady income is risking some capital you have, maybe having investments or something. Because I guess you never know what's gonna happen, and you'll never know until you try. So just try. There's nothing wrong with trying. If people say you're wrong for trying, screw them. Honestly, there's nothing wrong with just trying, as long as you're not hurting other people or infringing on other people's rights, type of thing. Just go for it.
Oh. Well, I can definitely get a glimpse of the kind of attitude that you have in life. And it's very refreshing because not everyone has that kind of attitude. And I am not really surprised that, you're doing so well right now. Maybe you would feel that so lang, di ba? Parang ano lang to, normal, ganyan. But then there's something extraordinary in the ordinary things. And
Yeah.
what you're doing right now is the perfect example for that. So I really respect that from a very young person. It's something I truly respect. So, but thank you so much for
Thank you.
spending this time with me and talking about these things. I
Thank you.
enjoyed
Thank
this
you.
conversation. I hope that my community would also enjoy this as well. This is very
Yes.
refreshing from my point of view.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. It was fun. It was fun talking for a bit. Just I guess just talking and not thinking about other things for a while. It's a nice, refreshing 1 hour.
Well, thank you. Thank you again. And of course, for the favored ones, I hope that you have also gained value from this conversation. Even I also learned from my students. And of course, si Vince in this conversation. I also learned from him. So I hope that you also gained something, fresh insights from this conversation, coming from a very young person, no, di ba? And I wish you all well. Remember that you're highly favored and that you're truly blessed in life. So maximize those gifts, those resources that you have. And just like what Vince said, try. There's no harm in trying, di ba? And kung meron man negative na comment, yeah, screw them.
Yeah.
This is your life.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Whether you're watching the live or the replay, I wish you all well. And by the way, before I end pala, I'm opening up more slots for counseling for intuitive reading. So do send me a message if you need to schedule one. All right. So God bless everyone. Take care.